The Stanford Prison Experiment.
Also free.
Also free.
Yeah.
I always confused with the original experiment.
Yeah.
This original experiment was very famous. This guy set up a guards and prisoners dynamic, and just to tell a long story short, the guards became very cruel, right? To oversimplify it. But I guess I'm confused about what theory he was driving. That we are inherently like evil or manipulable or capable of evil. I guess I just didn't really see the point of the experiment, and I've always doubted this kind of theory that humans are born with a capacity of evil.
But the Stanford Prison Experiment is often given as evidence that, see, at our root core, you just can't help it. People turn bad. And the Stanford Prison Experiment has been told as a story of it's not just bad apples, it's the bad barrel. Mm-hmm. If you put anyone in the wrong circumstance, they will behave badly.
Right.
If you give people power and you depersonalize the others they have control over and all these things, then they'll just become bad.
Do you believe that's true? I mean, do you think that was proven through their experiment?
No.
Yeah.
I don't. I think that it is very true that the situation can have a lot more power than we might think.
Right.
But I don't think that it's the simple story of, oh, well, of course these terrible things happen because they just do.
Yeah.
You know, even nice people can go bad, right? That can happen. But I think it's way more complicated, and where the people and their own personalities and the situations overlap and have feedback loops with each other, it becomes really gray.
Well, the one detail that actually I learned from watching this episode that I didn't know is that the researchers were encouraging the guards off the record to be more cruel.
Right.
Which is something that they didn't disclose.
That part of the story is rarely told.
Yeah. That modifies the results a lot.
Yeah.
There was one guy apparently who wasn't being cruel enough, and there's a recording of the researchers being like, "Hey, dude, you're gonna have to be more dominating. You have to be more forceful with them. Otherwise, this experiment's not going to work."
Yeah. And
encouraging cruelty.
In the episode, I got to talk with one of the guards from the experiment.
Right.
And he explained that he thought he was working with the experimenters. He thought the whole point was, we're going to be cruel and see what people do. We're going to show that prisons are all bad and need to be reformed. So he thought he knew what the experiment was about. Right. And so he behaved in a certain way. And he was getting feedback from the research team. He knew that the cameras were recording them, and that when he did creatively cruel things, they would like get a close up and they'd all go, "Ooh, wow." And so he was encouraged in his mind to be mean.
Yeah.
Right.
So that kind of throws into question, what did we really learn from the Stanford Prison Experiment? I don't think that the whole thing should be called a hoax and written off. I think, first of all, it's incredibly important as a example of why you need to ethically study people. You can't just be like, let's get some young people and, I don't know, give them power over each other. And,
what were some of the things the guards did, just for people who are listening who aren't familiar with that experiment?
Well, you know, it devolved into like making the prisoners hump each other in order to, you know, get bathroom breaks. It was, hey, you, prisoner, are going to be, you know, locked in this closet until you eat because some hunger strikes happened. And then I think the guards would come up with like scenarios like, okay, if you all don't choose a person to be punished, then you all lose your blankets. So the prisoners had to go against each other, stuff like that. That was
These were all volunteers, so
they were paid.
Yeah,
they were paid per day.
Yeah,
a pretty good amount, more than what you would get for like just a job, a college job, you know, at that time. But it had to be ended early because it got so bad. Now, there was also like a whole nervous breakdown one of the prisoners had. But since then, he said that he was just acting. Because he just wanted to study for his upcoming tests, and they weren't letting him have his textbooks.
He wanted to get out. Because I saw, was this the guy who was like, "Let me out"?
Yeah.
Just started freaking out.
I'm burning up in here. And then they were like, okay, this guy's like off his...
Yeah.
He's gone out of control.
Right.
But really, he was just doing that because he knew that they would have no choice but to like get him out of the experiment.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But I mean, so at any rate, you think that this experiment, what does it prove if not that humans are capable
I'm
of
not-
all humans are.
I'm not sure what it proves,
Yeah.
but it's a great example in the textbooks, especially of like, this is why we have ethics review boards. You know, this is why we need to be careful. If you want to know what's in a proton, smash them together and look at what comes out. But you can't take someone's brain, scoop a piece out and be like, now what's different? Oh, that was in the part that allows you to answer my questions. Shoot, you know? You have to be really careful. And there are times in the history of psychology where that line has been crossed and we've I think become better. But I also think that the Stanford Prison Experiment, like the Milgram experiment, the one with the electric shocks, shows us that people will do quite cruel things in the name of something bigger. And in Milgram and in Stanford, I think that was scientific progress. They said, well, this university is doing this and it must be important, so I don't feel so bad. I'm being told to do this by, you know, someone whose work I think is important. So I think that's what we really learned from the Stanford Prison Experiment.
Right.
We still need to do a lot of work on where that balance is between what makes someone do evil or what makes someone become a hero.
Right. So the experiment you did in the video or in that episode when they're in the dark room, that was based on the Milgram one?
That was our attempt to play around with how would you run something like the Stanford Prison Experiment, but have absolutely no demand characteristics, meaning no expectations on the part of the participants that they were supposed to behave in any way. Because everything we kept hearing was that the participants in the prison experiment all thought they had to take on this role. Oh, I'm a prisoner, so I guess like what do prisoners do? Well, they're obedient or they riot. I'll do one of those two. We said, what if we just give them numbers? We don't tell them that we're recording certain data, and we just see if, given the opportunity to hurt someone, knowing that you would never get caught for it, would you do it? And we really struggled. We also cast the most like benevolent people we could find.
Yeah, they were all sweethearts.
Because all we wanted to show is that there's a point where you will not get the results that you saw at the Stanford Prison Experiment.
Yeah.
So it's not an either or. People are either good or you put them in the rotten barrel and they all turn into rotten apples.
I was wondering, were you wanting to do something more extreme? Was there ever a point when YouTube was like, let's not do it that way?
It was a weird episode because we developed that one after season 3 had already been approved.
Right.
And so I was busy making all the other 7 episodes and still having to come up with, well, what's the Stanford prison thing? And the more we looked into it, we talked to a lot of psychologists, and they were all like, if you do it today, it's just a reality show. The BBC did a fantastic version that was much more rigorous, and they were looking at sort of group cohesion, and it was very cool. But, they had a huge facility, and they had a lot of time. It's all they did.
Yeah.
We were only able to spend 1/8 of our time and resources on this, right? Because we had 7 other episodes.
Yeah.
So, I think when you say Stanford Prison Experiment, people get a little scared and they think it's going to go too far. So we were even proposing stuff like there's this really fantastic experiment involving hot sauce. And you as a participant have to measure out an amount of hot sauce to force someone else to drink. And YouTube was like, too dangerous.
Too far?
And I was like, yeah, but I mean, we've electrically shocked people in previous seasons, and hot sauce, there's like a popular show on YouTube where that's all people do.
Yeah.
And I think they were just so scared that Stanford Prison Experiment
That's such
was
a
going to
shame.
violate ethical rules, that the hot sauce could not be hotter than Tabasco, stuff like that, right?
Oh my God. I had a feeling that they had their hands in the
But I appreciate some of those challenges because it forced us to be better and to be like, you know what, maybe the punishing can be something that's not quite so cartoony. But the hot sauce has actually worked in like serious studies. So we used the noise, and I think it was almost more insidious because we were able to say, we've played it off. Like we didn't really know how loud it was or what was safe. We just said anything below a 7 should be safe.
Right.
Meaning should be safe. So if you crank that dial up secretly,
It's like
you could be really hurting someone.
right.
But no one would know that it was you who did it. Will people be that cruel?
And in the end, they were not really, were they?
No, they only ever responded in kind. It was just
Yeah, I'm surprised by that. They never cranked it up.
You could easily find people who would.
Sure.
But it's not quite as easy as anyone
You wanted
put
to
into a
prove
dark
that you
room
could.
with yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.